going to show you how to weld a beaded permanent bracelet using fine wire. So my daughter wanted me to make her a new bracelet with beads as connections. So today I'm going to show you how to do that. And the tools that we are using are round nose pliers, flush cutters, pair of chain nose pliers, those are flat, a brush, and I'm going to explain this a little bit later, but masking tape for bead selection. And then she's chosen this tube chain, which is one of my favorite chains. And I'm going to give her selection of beads to choose from, and all of the beads that we're going to be using today will fit a 24 gauge wire. So keep in mind that whatever wire that you use must go through the beads that you are going to use. And then I'm using grounded pliers, but you don't have to use these if you have the grounded alligator clips, and use these regular pliers. I'm just going to use this when I am welding. Okay, while I get her to choose, here, use this tape. And put this sticky side up on paper, and at that table you can find beads and just line up however many beads you want. To get started, actually, because we're going to make a connector, we're going to use just a section of wire. Now, I know it's going to be small, and for the sake of filming, I'm just going to cut this much. A couple of things. If you are using solid gold, which I highly recommend if you are using, even doing gold-filled chains, because there will be a more significant weld in what we're going to do than, say, a jump ring. Okay. And if you're using solid gold, you might want to measure out more closely. This is sterling silver, and I'm going to explain to you how we measure. In essence, the bracelet is going to be like this, and I'm going to weld a permanent bracelet on her, and she wants a number of beads here. Basically, to calculate the exact amount of wire that you need, is you need to accommodate for this loop. And so in basic grade 7 geometry, okay, it is pi d, pi diameter. So this is going to be, I'd say 3 millimeters. You times that by 3.14, and that is the amount of wire you need. However, I always think that in case there is a problem and you need to trim off a little bit to re-weld, you want to give at least enough. So your length, a bit more than the circle on either side. Okay, so this is what we're going to hope for. Now, while I do one side, I've got her choosing the beads over there, and I'm going to demonstrate how to do this. What I have here is hard wire. It is better than dead soft, especially if it is longer. However, as I've said in a number of other videos, whatever wire you have, you can work hard in it by tap, 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 or putting it in a Tupperware and shaking it. Effectively, that's hammering without actually flattening your wire, which is great. And if you don't mind that it is flat, you can actually hammer. So those are your options. So now I have this wire, and I'm going to demonstrate this while my daughter is selecting her beads. And first order of business is using your round nose pliers to make a loop like this. so that it is a full loop and it goes up a little bit over the bar. You don't want it over too much because when you press it down, it'll overlap, but you want it almost halfway, maybe 40%. Move it back if you need to, and then press down, because that way, like this, if you can see that, that way, when you press down on it, it is forced and pushed up against this with maximum amount of contact. Okay, so we're ready to weld. Actually, we're not, because I want to put this chain inside the loop to lock it in. So we open it, flip it to the side, not pulling it because I still want the circle, the shape, and I'm ready here. Then I move it back, and if you for some reason have jammed it out and it's no longer touching as much as you'd like, that's okay. All you have to do then is to move it back over and press down again so that it is really touching. Okay. And sometimes I can't see it because it's too tiny, and I go by feel because it's very shiny and I am filming with all sorts of cameras. So I go by feel. Here we go. Now I am ready to weld. Okay, so I'm going to try my very best so that you can see this. But basically, I want to weld where it connects, but more on this side and not right on the bar, because I want this end to melt properly without deforming the bar. See if I can get the angle so you can see it. And actually, I'm going to have it at 4. It's 24 gauge. I'm going to have it at 4 watts. Oops, I moved too much. Okay, so I'm going to weld. I'm going to see if I can get my hand out of the way to show you. And it's at 3.5, or turn it down to 3 watts. My hands are kind of shaky in this position. Okay, let me see. Let me just check that. And it worked. It requires a very light touch. And then I'm going to use this brush. Oh, here. Maybe you can see it better when I do this. Okay, so I'm going to clean it. You can do all these things first before the person comes, your client. So here we've got this. It's perfectly done. I'm going to add the beads and we're ready to do the other side and weld our permanent bracelet. Okay, so now I'm ready to thread the beads. Okay, do you have it? Okay, this is your selection. Great. Okay, so this is what she has selected. By the way, this is great idea. Sticky side up. You can roll around to see the spacing, etc. This is what I like to use as a hack to hold things in place and it's more visible. So now all I have to do is thread the beads exactly the way I see. She's chosen a gold bead. I love two-tone, and it just makes it fancier and prettier. Okay, So now what we do is we do the same thing on the other side. And I wrap around like this. You don't need to make it very tight at this point because you're going to be pulling this back, and also you never want so tight that it cracks your beads or breaks anything. Okay, so basically I've made a loop like this. Okay. And now I'm going to trim and measure out her wrist to make sure, cut it, and then put it through. Okay, so I've got this approximately. Can I give you a hand? You tell me if you want, if it's loose enough or not, okay? So we want it to be around there. Okay, so I'm going to cut around here. We'll mock it up first. Okay, I'd rather make it a little looser for now and then cut it shorter later. Okay, so how you do that is you can open up the link like this, let it drape. Okay. Pretend it's like a needle. Take this through. Okay. How's that? Can you? Perfect. Okay. Is that loose enough? Or do you want it tighter? It's good? Okay. Here we go. So this is the trickier part. I figured out here. I'm going to, now if your eyesight is really good and you're not filming, you can stick your head closer, great. I might have to, I need bifocals, and I might need to take it off first. If I need to make sure that if I can't see it too clearly, can't get up close. Otherwise, here, what you do is make sure again that it is over to the side, and then you press down, and sometimes you make sure that you've got good pointy pliers. Okay, the whole idea is that you make sure the other side is touching and grinding onto the wire. Now, I'm going to try and make sure that you can see this as much as possible. Camera. Let's see. Let's get back here. All right. My grounded pliers. Let's see. It looks good, but just in case. Perfect. Okay. Perfect. Doesn't need heavy welding, and it's secure. That's the most important thing. Then I'm going to show you, it's a bit dark, and all that you need now is just a bit of cleaning. And then to straighten out the link. And how you do that is you hold on to the link, the loop, and just straighten it out like that. And make sure both sides, so hold and use the entire place to leverage, and there you go. And here is the finished result. You can use as many beads as your customer wants, or as few. and in different combinations as well as birthstones. This technique also works in making stations in between chains.